Good evening, good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Howson, and this is my Watford review. It's just coming up to about 2 o'clock in the morning. I've just finished all the fan cams for Full Time Devils. I've just sat down now to have a proper look at the league table. I'm not going to shout and get too excited, even though I actually really am excited. Everyone's asleep in the house, so I don't want to wake everybody up. I've seen a lot of people say it was a poor performance, and you know what? I'm going to disagree with you. I've had a real think about the performance, and I was very excited in the live because I saw that forward four and I thought, Jesus, the pace in that could be deadly for us, couldn't it? And it didn't actually work out that way. And do you know why it didn't work out that way? Because of how Watford lined up against us. Now, far too often I think people forget that there's two teams in a game of football. And it's problem solving, isn't it? Some of you may know I'm an MMA fan, and Joe Rogan's got a fantastic quote about fighting, that it's high level problem solving with dire physical consequences. Now I would say that football isn't high level problem solving with dire physical consequences, because you're generally not going to get knocked out on a football pitch, but I would say that it's high level problem solving with 10 other people against the same sort of thing. So it's team based problem solving, very reactionary. It's and that for me is the interesting aspect of, or one of the interesting aspects of football. It's how you, as a collective of individuals, can out tactic the other 11 individuals that you're facing. And it's the finest of margins at the top level of sport, team sports, that determine winners and losers. Today we saw Juan Mata's perfect free kick floated over the wall into the top left corner of the net, and we saw earlier free kicks blasted into the wall. That is the difference between us now being in joint fourth or fifth and what potentially could be sixth place, because West Ham would have overtaken us if we hadn't got the 3 points today. That is the fine margins we're dealing with. You also have to look at some of the home defeats that we've had this year and go, those defeats, if we'd have turned those into 6 points, because we should have, we would be 1 point off Tottenham in third place, looking like we can go on and do something in the league. Everybody bottled it, didn't they? Leicester, I didn't watch the game, but I spoke to a couple of people who said Leicester actually played very well and was unlucky. But Tottenham have bottled it. The opportunity to go top tonight, Tottenham bottled it. Arsenal, that's what they do in it. I mean, that really is their thing. They've bottled it. I can't wait to go and watch Arsenal Fan TV in a bit. City have bottled it, and I'm so glad City are bottling it. I'm happy to be proven right here when I said, I think it was deadline day when I said we saw a very similar collapse in Manchester United, which was inexplicable. I think that fear that the manager's not going to be around in 6 months' time really plays into the players. And I don't know why. I don't know the reasoning behind it, but there is something in there which means that performances dip. We saw it 2002 with Sir Alex Ferguson when he announced his retirement, and United fell to pieces, and that was a hell of a side. And we are seeing it with this City side, and they've got a lot on their plate now. 4 competitions, I suppose only 3 remaining competitions for them. And I said they was the ones that could potentially drop out, and I can't believe the press aren't hammering them over this. They've lost more games than we have in the league this year. Think of that. Think of the December that we had, and then think that City have lost more games in the league than we have this year. Think about that. Think about that when they talk about how much Louis van Gaal spent. Think about that when they see what City spent in the summer on Otamendi, on De Bruyne, and on Sterling. Just in those 3 players alone. Think about that. And then understand that Louis van Gaal has not been given a fair crack with the whip in the press. Someone tweeted me something earlier. Let me see if I can find it, because I did retweet it. Let's have a see. And it was someone from the BBC. The BBC is meant to be the most neutral. It's not a tabloid. It's a government organisation. It's meant to be as neutral as it comes. And check this out. It was... There we go. So right at the end of the game, 9:45 tonight on the BBC Sport feed, can Manchester United really finish fourth after the season they've had? UEFA would have a case for taking the 4th Champions League spot off the Premier League. Why? Why is it only when Manchester United finish 4th that there's a case to be taking off the fourth spot for the Premier League when you've had however many other teams, Arsenal, perennial fourth place finishers. Why was it never a case for those when they've scraped it on the last day of the season to be taking the fourth place spot from them? Why? Just absolute ABU from the media. That's all it is. And it just proves that United have been getting the rough edge of the sword. Why is it better for City, who have lost more than us this season despite spending $1 billion, to be given the easy ride? Why? Because Pep Guardiola's coming in the summer. Sweet. Hope he enjoys Europa League on Thursday nights, because he's going to have a hell of a shock if he's got to compete in the Europa League and the Premier League, because that's going to be an absolute nightmare for him. And I honestly hope that's how it goes down. Now, where are Man United going to finish? I've not even spoken about the game properly yet, have I? Let's speak about the game. Let's talk about the game. So, what I was seeing in the first half, I was seeing United playing 2 men versus 4 men in midfield. And also Deeney was coming back, so you could argue it was 5 men. And we were seeing 4 men versus 4 men, our attack versus their defence. And the problem was, because we was crowded out in midfield, we was unable to put through good balls in the right areas and actually get behind the defence. You need to be putting passes in from the middle third to the final third with some degree of accuracy, and we wasn't doing that. We was shut down very well. And you can go, United are shit because we failed to do that. Or you can be looking at it objectively and go, Watford did a good tactical number on us in a certain way, the way they shut down the supply lines to our dangerous players. Now, if you look, when they line up 4 versus 4 and you think about who they're going to mark, well, sometimes it's better to actually shut the supply off than try and deal with a player with the ball at his feet. Because we did see coming into the box several times, Rashford, Martial, although not so much, Memphis, he had a few, and Mata around the D. We looked dangerous when we was in those positions. We couldn't see it through into the box. And I don't think we were shooting enough for me, or we certainly wasn't shooting with the accuracy enough. We did have the opportunities, we just wasn't using in the same way. We didn't really see Varela get to the byline. I'm going to have to, when I rewatch the game tomorrow, I will watch it again tomorrow morning. I'm going to try and see what happened with Varela. The couple of occasions that he did manage to get to the byline with the ball, he looked alright, but I don't really remember too many occasions where he had the ball at his feet and he was putting crosses into the box. That might have been a difference. We didn't really do it down the left-hand side. We was more cutting on the in from the left-hand side. Rashford in the second half put a couple of crosses in from the right-hand side. One flashed right across the face of the goal and nobody gambled on it. So there was opportunities, and to be fair and balanced, like I always try and be, Watford also had their opportunities. And as we saw when we played them at Vicarage Road this season, they are capable of causing problems for people. And I do hope they stay up, because I think the way they play football is really good for the league. I thought it was a mistake, and I thought they was always going to lose tonight once I saw 2 strikers up front. I thought, we're going to have a field day with this. I think when you play 2 strikers, you're going to try and look to pounce, but they actually sat back really well with the 2 strikers, and they was using them both as an outlet. That was both dangerous going forward. When you play a lone striker and you are forced to long ball it a little bit, unless you've got an absolute machine of a workhorse of a striker, he's going to get isolated and he's going to struggle. But when you've got 2 and they're the physical presence that they've got, like Deeney and Ighalo, then you've got a real good system and you can hit us on the break. And you know United are susceptible to the break anyway, especially with Blind in the team. Fosu Mensah had a hell of a game, didn't he? Because, do you know what? Blind, for someone who's supposed to be mentoring a countryman like that, he was quite poor, wasn't he, tonight? Especially defensively. He looked physically beaten. And to be fair, Deeney and Ighalo are 2 physical beasts. Maybe that's why we put an 18-year-old, but let's face it, he's not an 18-year-old. He's probably 4 stone heavier than Blind. Physically a lot more intimidating than Blind's ever going to be already at 18. And Timothy Fosu Mensah, for his first 90 minutes of senior football, did not look phased in the slightest, did he not? I've been really hot on him, and tonight in his press conference, Louis van Gaal has actually said that he prefers him as a fullback than a centre-half. Louis, come and take a seat, mate, because the place you need to be playing him is central midfield. That is where you're going to get the best Fosu Mensah. I think you get a good centre-half no problem. But I think you get a better player when he's allowed to have more impact on the game. As a centre-half, especially the way Manchester United play, if we're all over the ball and we're looking for someone to break the teams down, that's our issue. We struggle breaking teams down. Then a power horse that's going to absolutely charge through the centre of the pitch, have long shots, lay things off for people, force a bit of tempo into our play. That's what Fosu Mensah's going to bring you if he's played at central midfield. I've got no issue with him at centre-half. I think he's fine. But as I was shout out to Jack. We were talking to my friend Jack earlier, and we were saying, I think there's better centre-halves at the club. Roshan Williams being one of them. I think he's away off his first team debut. I mean, he's 17. He's got 5 years at under 21 level at the moment. Only just 17. And I see such composure in his play. He's also ridiculously fast, breaking Darren Campbell's 25-year standing sprint record in Greater Manchester schools. Obviously, Darren Campbell went on to be an Olympic-level sprinter, so that's how fast this guy is. Actually, I've got something that I'd really like to find out, and if I can grip any of the under-18 players, this is one of the things I'm going to ask them. Because you've got Rashford, who to me has got this serious tempo and unbelievable acceleration in him, and you've got Roshan, who's a record-holding sprinter. I want to know who's faster. I think over 100 metres, you're probably going to have to say Roshan's going to be faster, isn't he? But I'm just wondering, over that first 10, 15 yards, is Rashford faster? So that's something that I want to ask one of the under-18s when I see him, because that's something that I am very interested in. I think it'd be Rashford, I really do. I've lost all train of thought. What was going on? Oh yeah, Roshan Williams. So the big attribute that I see of Roshan Williams is if you go and watch them live, there's generally not that many watching, especially under-18s. Under-18s, you're talking a handful of people. The 21s, 1,000, maybe 1,100, something like that. If it's a big game, 1,400, 1,500, something like that. But you can hear virtually every word that's said by Warren Joyce, and you can certainly hear the players when they're shouting. And Roshan Williams does not shut the fuck up. Straight Mancunian, gobby, you know what we're like. We're a bit wordy, aren't we? Well, he is marshalling not just his line, not just the midfield, not just telling the keeper what's going on. He's telling everybody what's going on. Marcus Rashford does something great over on the left-hand side of the pitch. He's telling him. If the right back's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, he's telling him. Left back, he's telling him. Midfield, he's telling him. Someone does something well, he's congratulating, saying keep up. Someone does something bad, he's going, get your head up, we'll get back in this. Unbelievable leadership from probably the youngest player in the under-21s at the moment. I see an amazing future for Roshan Williams. But I'm not calling for his first team debut just yet, because I think 17 is a rarity in it. The Rio Ferdinands of this world who are making debuts at 17 and England debuts at 18 and that sort of thing, that is an absolute rarity. And maybe he is one of those players, because he looks super composed and he's a solid 8 out of 10 player so far in the under-21s. But I think it's just a little bit early for him yet, isn't it? Maybe another season of development, maybe a loan somewhere, see how it goes, and then maybe bring him in a little bit. We didn't get to see Joe Rothwell tonight, which, I guess the game was on a bit of a knife edge, wasn't it, going all the way to the end. So I am sure we will get to see Joe Rothwell making his debut at some point in the near future. The only other one that I've called for that we're waiting on seeing is Matty Willock, who's himself is a little bit of a defensive, maybe box-to-box midfielder, a big lad, strong lad, very composed, very calm, a bit of an engine on him as well. I think he's ready for the step up, as we've seen all the rest of these guys. They're top of the under-21 league for a reason, aren't they? And like the likes of Timothy Fosu Mensah and Rashford, I mean, they're under-18s. People are telling us our under-18s are shit. Well, what have I been saying to you all season? You know fuck all, my mate, because there's some absolute gems in here, and we really do have the potential for a class of 92 on our hands. And there's other players in the under-18s as well that are doing great things. Tyrell Warren, I think, is again the same sort of thing as you've got with Roshan Williams. He's an absolute leader. I see shades of Vidic in him, that just raw aggression where he's just going to go through someone and just grip hold of the game by the throat and actually make things happen. Really like that. You've obviously got Angel Gomez, the youngest age he's allowed to be to play in the under-18s, and he's doing very well. He's not scoring a million goals, but the guy's 15 and he's like that big. He is the closest thing to Messi that we're going to see in a United shirt, and as he develops and grows and his confidence grows in the under-18s, I think you're going to see a hell of a player. The coaches, at Carrington that you speak to, they're telling you massive things. They're like, watch out for this kid. This kid's special. So you have to take it on, don't you? There's a lot of hype around Callum Gribbin. I think he needs to add a bit of consistency to his game and a bit of work rate. He's very Berbatov-ish in the way he plays. I think once he can get that consistency, I think you've got a hell of a player on your hands there. Obviously very highly rated by a lot of people. There's phenomenal players right throughout the 21s, the 18s, and even the 16s. There's been AD Barlow's been pulled up into the under 18s a couple of times, and he's looked right at home. He looks like he could take it on. He's got a real tempo to his play as well, forcing things to happen in a bit of a similar way to the way Marcus Rashford's doing it. Tonight's game, I know I keep wandering off. I think you like it when I do this, don't you? Tonight's game, especially like I was saying in the first half, what we saw was just a little bit of a mismatch, and I think that continued a little bit into the second half. And I wasn't making any notes. Sometimes I make notes on my phone about how the games are going so I can try and talk about it after the game. I didn't make any notes today. I was just sort of like letting it happen. And I don't know what the difference was. As I said, I'll watch it again, probably only in a few hours when I get up, and try and see what maybe made the difference. It'd be interesting to see. I thought it was an interesting substitution when we took Herrera off for Lingard. Because you would think, right, okay, so now we're playing one holding midfielder, the fullbacks are bombing forward, Lingard's probably just been given this free role, maybe to just, operate alongside Mata in a bit of a dual number 10 role, if you like, because he was on the left, he was on the right, he was down the middle. I think he did well when he came on. Fresh legs really shown. Rashford looked like he tired, but as usual, Rashford's putting 150% into everything. Martial looked like he was a little bit off the pace, but maybe he's just one of those that needs to get into the match rhythm a little bit. And I think Sir Alex Ferguson came up with this quote at least 5 years ago, I think, talking about consistency with young lads. And I think he was talking about Raphael. I think he said something along the lines of, you can't expect consistency from 20-year-old players. And we're looking at 18-year-old players here in the likes of Rashford. Asking for consistency at that level, at the very highest level, is such a difficult thing to do, because it's one thing to have a performance. These players, despite the fact that they're very young, are talented footballers. They're professional full-time footballers that have, a lot of them been at the club since they was 8 years old. They are literally trained for this moment. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to ask that these players can perform like that once. They are trained for it. And all the emotional and psychological factors that go into just producing one performance, it's fairly easy to do. It's the replication of that which is where world-class players come in. Everyone can have one good performance, but being able to do that week in, week out is when you come out of the bracket of good form, and then you become a player that just produces these performances. At some point in his career, Cristiano Ronaldo was an unproductive show pony. Definitely was called that at some point in his career. 500 career goals later, he's world-class, consistent, can always be relied on. And at some point, there's a change happens where you go from the inconsistent show pony into that consistent world-class player. I think Chris Smalling's shown that a little bit this season, although he has tapered off. I thought at the start of the season, I think I said it as well, I think he's surpassed what you could consider good form, and he is now playing at a world-class defending level. I'm not 100% sure that you could say he still is. But then that could be symptomatic of the rest of the side around him not playing well. I find that aspect of the game, I find the tactical aspect of the game very interesting. I also find psychology of individual players' performance extremely interesting as well. And I think I was excited to see if Rashford could replicate it for a third time. Because obviously Midtjylland, Europa League, okay, he's probably, you could argue, at that level already, if not higher, by being in the United Academy. Arsenal, one of the best teams in the country, one of the best teams in Europe, you can definitely argue that he is not yet of that level. and his performance was flawless. 2 goals, 1 assist, flawless. Now the question is, how can he replicate that? And you know what, tonight, I don't think it was through a lack of effort. I don't think it was through a lack of ability that he didn't score. I think it was through a lack of opportunity. I don't remember him having a shot. I'm going to have to, like I said, I'm going to check it in the morning anyway. I don't remember him having a shot. I do remember him absolutely roasting the left back time and time again whenever he got the ball and a little bit of space in front of him. He's so direct and aggressive with the ball. I love it. I absolutely love his attitude towards playing football. And I think with players like Blind and players like Mata and players like Marshall, they're quite chilled out players, aren't they? I think Blind, Mata, Marshall, I think you could comfortably say, yeah, they're pretty chilled out players. Not going to get too giddy, not going to get too excited. Sometimes play within themselves. Very talented, phenomenal touches, but not very aggressive, I think you could say. Marshall, okay, sometimes he can be a little bit aggressive, but he seems very composed, doesn't he? Hard to ruffle. And then you've got the likes of Riley, Varela, Rashford, Fosun Mensah to a bit of an extent today. Looked like he was a bit pissed off at times. And I think you need a blend and a balance. If you have too many of one style, you end up with the 1988 crazy gang with Vinnie Jones and the rest of it. I think you need a balance. I think two of the greatest sides I ever saw for United, at least anyway, was the 94 double side and the 99 treble side. The 94 double side was probably harder in terms of just like pure physical violence, harder. You had Schmeichel, who was a fucking nutter. You had Steve Bruce, who was a fucking nutter. You had Paul Ince, Roy Keane and Brian Robson just in and around the team between the 3 of them. Ridiculous. And then up front you had Cantona and Mark Hughes. Kanchelskis, never really going to stick in a fight, was he, on the right? Ryan Giggs, supposedly quite tough, quite handy, but at the time he was probably 19, 20 maybe. He's not really going to be booting anybody, is he? We had a spine of the team that was nuts and hard and would kick you, and I think all of them have been sent off several times throughout their career. And sometimes I think you really need that. And I think if you looked at this United side at the moment, even Rooney, because I think he's mellowed out a hell of a lot as he's got older, even Rooney would not lift somebody anymore, would he? Do you know who would? I think Varela would. I think Varela's got that Raphael sort of side in him where you could go past him and he could just fucking lift you. I guarantee Rashford would lift you and go through you. I know Riley would. I think Rowe would. I think Timothy Fosun Mensah would. I don't get that from Blind, Mata and Marshall. And I think that's maybe what we've lacked. And maybe it is just something simple little fight in a team like that which has been the difference in this winning run of 4 games. This winning run's going to come to an end. Because as I meant to talk about consistency, because I was going to say, as much as we're willing this to win, and the way everyone else has fucking bottled it in the league, it feels like such an opportunity for us to storm this top 4. I mean, and it's entirely possible that we can storm the top 4, maybe even put on a bit of a very hopeful title charge towards the end, and still finish like 5 or 6 points off the top, but comfortably inside the top 4, maybe even 3rd. Possible, if improbable. We could have a storming run in the Europa and end up lifting that in Basel, and ditto with the FA Cup. How likely are all of those? I wouldn't like to speculate, in all honesty. I think we've got tough games with West Ham and with Liverpool in the FA Cup and the Europa, and the league. Well, I don't have the confidence in us, and when I look at, if you just look at cities, you look at Norwich and Aston Villa being 2 of their upcoming games, and you go, well, that should be 6 points, shouldn't it? But the unpredictability of this league this season. I was talking to a Leicester fan today at lunchtime, and I was saying to him, I think they're going to win the league. somehow. I think they're just going to pull it off, and it's going to be like a mad romantic thing for them. That they're just going to do it. They're just going to find a way to do it. It seems like everyone else is finding a way to not take it up at the moment, especially Arsenal and Tottenham, and City are well out of it, I think, now. If they finish fourth, this is what I said to him, if you don't win the league and you finish fourth, if you just go straight out of it, and you still come fourth, would that be a disappointment of a season for you? And he said it would, which I found really interesting. It's very interesting how quickly football fans' attitudes and expectations can shift. That a Leicester fan from a side that was nearly relegated last season can now be pissed off that they come fourth. And I said, well, if at the start of the season I'd have offered you fourth place when you was almost relegated last season, would you have took it? And he goes, I'd have snapped your arm off. But expectations have shifted throughout the season. Fair play. I think every neutral wants Leicester to win the league just for the chaos factor of what can happen of Leicester City Premier League winners. And I really do hope they do it. So, Leicester, go for it, man. I really hope you absolutely smash it. It'd be really interesting to see. And for the meltdown that you're going to get with Arsenal fans, that they haven't won it in how many years. And then Leicester come from nowhere. I mean, we've got our own problems, but the fucking comedy, because City and Arsenal were so sure, Arsenal especially, were so sure that it was their year, especially after Arsenal tonked us at the Emirates. I've no idea what I'm talking about now. So Sunday, West Brom now takes on significance. But this is not a place that you can go to easily, is it, and expect victory. I think this is the hardest time to predict football. I mean, I don't know how many people would have predicted tonight's results. Even Juventus, I believe, got stuffed tonight. So trying to predict football at the moment is so difficult. And with the number of youth players that we've got in the side, consistency is going to be a problem. Some of these players might be ready for the first team. They might be of the ability already where they can just take it off. Timothy Fosu-Mensah, for example, could just maybe now play every game to the end of the season. That's entirely likely. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. But the injuries that we get in, I have no idea. It could really happen. Excuse me. It's 2:30 now, so sorry. I just find this is one of the most interesting aspects of football, is the way all this comes together, how the results of one team affect another and culminate together in forming a league table that ends up with Leicester at the top of it. Money spent doesn't mean a fucking thing. How hard is it to put a run together? I don't know, but it has been, I guess, from a neutral, because it's not been, I can't say it's been an enjoyable season from a United perspective, but I think from the neutral perspective, just seeing how brave attacking football has done well for Watford. At times it's done well for Bournemouth. For the majority of the season it's done well for Leicester, Tottenham. It's an absolutely crazy one, isn't it? I've got loads of ideas for stuff that I want to do on videos coming forward. I want to do some stuff about the Ballon d'Or. One of the questions I want to do about the Ballon d'Or. So let's get some discussion going in the comments. I love it when we get some discussion going, and I'll reply to them in the morning when I get up. Ballon d'Or. The United Trinity. We saw Law win it in the early 60s. Charlton win it in 66. I think Best won it in 67, I think. They all sort of peaked at different times. Are we ever going to see 3 Ballon d'Or winners in a team again? I don't think Iniesta won it for Barcelona during that era. I think Xavi won it and Messi obviously won it. I don't think Iniesta won it. If he did, then obviously they've got their own little trinity there. Is their current trinity ever likely to do it? Or is it all just so Messi-centric that Neymar and Suarez are never going to win a Ballon d'Or, so they're never going to get a trinity like that again? How difficult would it be to assemble another Trinity level side. That's something I'm going to try and explore in a video, maybe over the weekend, maybe early next week. Another one is looking at the English winners of the Ballon d'Or and where the next English winner of the Ballon d'Or can come from. Is there anyone in the current squad capable of winning the Ballon d'Or? Or do we need to wait till Messi finishes playing football, maybe Neymar finishes playing football, and then start thinking about it? Is it going to be someone who's 13, 14 at the moment? Is that going to be the next English Ballon d'Or winner? Are we going to have to wait longer? Do you know who the last Ballon d'Or winner was? That was English. I think you'd be surprised. And do you know who the one was before that? We don't have many British Ballon d'Or winners. United have got even fewer. Is it this guy next? Is he the next Ballon d'Or winner? We have to tip up a load of loot to Monaco. I don't think anyone will be asked, will they? If we do. Right, I think I have waffled shit enough now. I have completely gone off road. That's it. I am delighted to wrap it up. I am delighted with the victory tonight. It was a very scrappy performance, but I thought it was an intriguing performance to see how it was playing out. And I don't think we played poorly. I think we was up against a very good side. Very good? Good side. And we were struggling with our tactics. And we're going to be up against another tactically astute side that's going to work really hard on Sunday. It's just one game at a time at the moment, isn't it? One game at a time. If we can put any sort of a run together, I mean, we are going to lose soon. We are going to lose. We are going to lose one of the next 5 games or so. But as long as we can keep progressing in the cups, maybe even a loss. If we're going to lose soon, maybe it'd be better to lose on Sunday than it would be to lose directly to City and give them the 3 points, if you know what I mean. Maybe it's not so bad to lose to West Brom as it is to lose to City and really lose ground on them. Us beating them obviously gives us 3 points, but also prevents them from getting any sort of points in there as well. So, I don't know. Mad season. And I think the finale of it's going to be even madder. I don't know if it's going to top the year that we drew the league with City, but I think we're in for a proper crazy ride. Check out the Footy Manager tactic video if that's the sort of thing you're into. I uploaded that yesterday tea time just before the match. I haven't been able to do a FIFA video for a bit because my game capture thing isn't working properly, so that's why there's no FIFA videos. You know what to fucking do. It, subscribe, hit like. Let's get some discussion going about Ballon d'Or. Let's get some going about this season's Premier League and any other ideas for topics you want to see me do videos on. I'm thinking about doing a Q&A, maybe some sort of agony aunt thing if we can make some comedy out of that. Anything you like, throw it in the fucking suggestions and I'll get round to them whenever I get up. I'm absolutely ball back, man. It's nearly 2:45. I better get to bed, aren't I? Thank you for watching. See you soon.